A very good evening, everyone. Welcome to Lecture 19 of Professor H.D. Sankalia monthly lecture series on Jain heritage, an initiative of Bhagwan Sheetalnath Chair for Jain Archaeology, Department of Ancient Indian History, Culture and Archaeology of Deccan College Postgraduate and Research Institute, deemed to be University, Pune. For those of you who are joining us for the very first time, let me tell you briefly about the activities of Bhagwan Sheetalnath Chair for Jain Archaeology. Bhagwan Sheetalnath Chair for Jain Archaeology was established in the Department of A.I.H.C and Archaeology 3 years back by the financial aid of International School for Jain Studies and Vardhaman Charitable Foundation. The chair functions primarily in the field of promoting researches in the field of Jain art, architecture, archaeology, and related subjects. We organize national seminars, national workshops, intercollegiate quiz competitions. We also organize training programs in iconography for our on job training students. We also have various other initiatives in the form of online lecture series and offline lecture series. Professor H.D. Sankalia monthly lecture series is organized every month online, free of cost for everyone. Similar series in the name of Professor M.A. Dhaki sir is organized, and in the name of Professor S.B. Dev sir is also organized in physical mode at Deccan College. Apart from that, this particular series, why it was named after Professor H.D. Sankalia, who was the establisher of Department of A.I.H.C in Archaeology at Deccan College. It is primarily for his contribution of establishing the early antiquity of Jainism in the region of Western Deccan by reading the inscription at Jain caves along with Dr. Shobna Goklema, which pushed back the antiquity of Jainism at least to around 2nd century BC to 1st century BCE. Apart from this, his various articles and his contributions to the field of archaeology, we are celebrating by naming this particular series after him. This is lecture 19 of this particular series. To deliver this particular lecture on the topic, Uncovering Jain Heritage, Recent Archaeological Findings from Malwa, Central India, we have with us Mr. Rahul Maurya. So I kindly request Dhananjay Kandare, Research Assistant of Bhagwan Sheetalnath Chair for Jain Archaeology, to give a formal introduction to Rahul Maurya, and then I would request Rahul Maurya to kindly begin his session.
Thank you, Oshin. Good evening, everyone. It is my pleasure to introduce today's speaker, Mr. Rahul Maurya. Mr. Maurya is currently serving as a guest faculty in the Department of History at Miranda House College and also pursuing his Ph.D. at the University of Delhi. His doctoral research focuses on archaeological investigations of the Buddhist remains in the Malwa region, 6th to 12th century CE. Mr. Maurya completed his M.Phil in Ancient Indian History, Culture and Archaeology from Deccan College Postgraduate and Research Institute, where his dissertation examined the rock cut sculptures of Devgarh in Uttar Pradesh. He has also pursued specialized certificate course in the archaeology of Buddhism and Pali language studies, reflecting his deep engagement with Buddhist heritage and textual traditions. He possesses valuable field experience in archaeological excavation and explorations. His scholarly contributions are equally impressive, with actively paper presentations at national and international conferences and several research publications on Buddhist, Jain, Brahminical art, and iconography, appearing in reputed journals and conference proceedings. His academic excellence has also been recognized through prestigious achievements such as a UGC JRF in history and the Black Trowel Collective Microgrant Award. I warmly welcome Rahul Maurya and invite him to deliver today's lecture. Thank you.
I'm audible?
Yes.
Oh, okay. Thank you, Dhananjay. Very good evening to all distinguished professors, scholars, and my friend. I'm very grateful to the part of this monthly series lecture, which is started at the name of S.D. Sankalia, who is the pioneer of Indian archaeology. Uh, Let me start. Just a second. Just a second.
Yes, the screen is visible now. We can see.
Okay.
Yes. Yes.
Okay. Now I will start. Uh, Today, it's like my presentation topic is uncovering a Jain heritage, recent archaeological findings from the Malwa, Central India. As already Dhananjay already introduced as like my PhD research work on the base of Buddhist archaeological remains in the same region, Malwa region. As why I'm choosing this topic because during my field survey, when I as like visiting several sites, then I just realized as like the Jain heritage, as like Jain sculptural remains or archaeological remains, we find as the as like together to be several associated site. Being a art history student, this is a very important to the each and every archaeological material to to the study the coexistence with the religious activity or religious coexistence. Even if we see the Jainism in central India, it's share a very similar pattern along, like similar pattern as like Buddhism. They also the pattern of they follow the same pattern as like same trade routes, the sculptural techniques, even as the kind of a patronage also. So as like the visiting a first site situated in Rajgarh Kotra district, when we engaging with the local people, as like we just show them few pictures and asking about that. Have you seen this kind of remains and sculptural remains or archaeological remains? They just the suddenly one person came out and he says that you should must visit a Dhangdev or Dhardev, which is a huge colossal Jain image without a head. They just used to call it Dharadev. And now then I realize, I realize the connection between the local people and that kind of a cultural material, their association with this kind of a cultural material also very important. And that the reason I have to look at that in my research area. So introducing Jainism in Malwa, it's central India, as we know, the Jainism is was like second largest largest religion in the terms of archaeological material in the central India. And even when we talk about the Malwa is here as the western and central part of this Madhya Pradesh, which is as 13 district of Madhya Pradesh and 4 district of Rajasthan, which is adjoining this particular region. And there is several rivers as like Narmada, Betwa, and Shipra. These are the major river, and there's several ancient trade routes also pass out through this region. So the Malwa have a great history since the past human activity to modern days. My presentation is focused on to explore the historical development of recent archaeological finding related to the Jain heritage in the Malwa region in central India. Even I try to highlight the evolution of the Jain religious tradition through the inscriptional evidences or temple, sculptural or monastic evidences or pilgrimage centers in this region. Like my objectives are this presentation to the examine religious history of Jainism in central India, especially like beginning to the like 18th, 19th century. We find out the remains in these regions, cultural remains or material remains over there, and to the bring the attention recent archaeological finding that enrich the study of Jainism in early and like medieval India, central India region, to highlight the artistic and architectural contribution of the Jain communities, to understand the cultural significance of Jain heritage in Malwa region. Okay, and now I start with the history of Jainism in this region. It's like we have a first evidence, as like according to the Adi Purana, as like written by the Jain, where they give a reference to the Rishabdeva who divided the whole India into the 52 Janapadas, including Avanti. Ujjaini is the capital of the Avanti region. That is also mentioned in that Adi Purana. The first literary evidence we get from here. And it's like the several Jain chronicle texts give the information, as like Emperor Chandragupta Maurya along with the Jain monks Bhadrabahu also passed through the Malwa region, and he stays some Jain monasteries and all also they give a kind of a references. Even the Mauryan also there's like ruler Samprati also he's ruling as Ujjain and he's also associated with the uh, Jainism. It's several texts give the references regarding to that. Now I come to the archaeological evidences, especially the epigraphic evidences, like Joseph Manuel on his article, he just mentioned, firstly he noted, there is a archaeological evidence in the Bhimbetka rock shelter, next to the Bhimbetka rock shelter, and that there is a rock cut bed where he find out an inscription which is associated with the Jain ascetic and have a give information regarding to the donations of that kind of Jain monasteries. Uh, there is another inscription in Prabhas, Allahabad region as the rock cut bed also where there also we get a inscriptional evidence which is associated with these Jain traditions. Next, it's like Udaygiri, also a very important religious center as Jain religions. They contain two images of Parshnath with the inscriptions dated the 4th century CE. So one of the very important inscriptions mentioned Kumaragupta as like a Gupta ruler, including a Jain activity during the Gupta period. These kind of inscriptional evidences we getting initial days in this region. Uh, when we talk about the important center at that time, there's like Ujjaini, Vidisha, and Bhimbetka and Pavas. These are the reason where we get archaeological and like evidences on this basis of these are the probably a center of Jainism at that time. So the textual references we get the Adi Puran and other Jaina chronicle text. Okay, now I move ahead. The Gurjar Pratihara dynasty has during after the Harsha, that region take over by the Gurjar Pratihara dynasty. As a Jainism flourished under the Gurjar Pratihara in central India to as like Rajasthan and whole the central India, even the few part of Gujarat also they covered. The important Jain temple as like existing at that time as like Ocean Temple, Devgarh and Gyarashpur as very famous Maladevi temple also existing at that time phase. Through the Pratihara ruler were not personally they just supporting like Jain institution as like indirectly the several important evidences are there. Okay. Inscriptional evidences is like Ocean Temple inscriptions mention the Jain temple established by the Yashovarman, sorry, by the established the Yashovarman who give donations to uh, donations to this construction the temple. And the Devgarh pillar inscriptions also recorded a Shantinath temple built by the Deva. There is a Bhoj Devas, like the scholars calls whom he is associated that Deva with the Bhoj Deva, the Gurjar Pratihara ruler. And Gatiala inscriptions also give inscriptional evidence to the Kapuka who built the Jain temple as that reason. Uh, there is a major site in during this period, as like Gurjar Pratihara period, as Gyarashpur, Bedova Pathari, and Devgarh. These are the important center where we get numbers of temples and scriptural evidences. I come to the Parmar dynasty who take over the after this as like Pratihara and all. Uh, Here we also get like Jainism at that like Parmana ruler. They just directly and indirectly both they associated with these as like Jain religion in the central India. Jainism receives a strong royal patronage during the under of the Parmara ruler. The numerous Jain temples, monasteries, and sculptures imaged are constructed during this period on this Malwa region. Ujjain became a very important Jain intellectual center. There is several references to the some kind of a intellectual debate is going on in that region. Uh, Even a few important copper plate inscriptions as like Kalvan copper plate inscription giving a Jain grant to the Jain temple. Jain temple in that region and other inscriptions like Bhojpura inscriptions also give information to illustration of the Jain sculptures and the temples in that Bhojpura region. And the Sairgad inscriptions also give information to celebration of Neminath festival. There is a kind of evidence as which shows that the affiliation with the festival or fest, something kind of a tradition also, they just affiliate or associated with that. The major Jain center is that time phase is like Ujjain, Sergarh, and the other as reason. You can see that. Okay, now I come to the Chandela dynasty during 10th to 12th century. As simultaneously, they just ruled the northern part of Malwa and Madhya Pradesh, especially. The Chandela rural, they patronized the Jain temple and Tirthankar worship, which is their capital is Khajuraho, and Khajuraho emerged as a center, major center at the Jain religious center in during this phase. The Khajuraho stone inscription give important evidence of the donations given by the rulers or the subordinate rulers. And Ahara inscriptions also give important evidence of the Santinath Chaitya, where they get a donation to construct the Chaitya. And Ajaygarh inscriptions also give information to illustration of Santinath image, like in that region. So these kind of inscriptional evidences we get during this phase period. The major Jain temple is like Parashuranath temple or Adinath temple and Khajuraho group of temple, Jain group of temple is very important and major center and during Chandela period in 10th to 13th century. The important Tirthankara, they just as like installation of the sculptures and inscriptional evidence shows that the Adinath, Parashuranath and Santinath in this time phase. Okay, now I come to the Solanki, Chalukya Solanki dynasty, which is especially the ruler as the Gujarat region and the western part of Malwa also. They just some for the few time they just conquered that region. They ruled over there. Uh, at that time, the Gujarat became a major center of the Swetambara traditions of the Jain religion, and there is a Jain debate, a scholarly debate tradition is flourished as we have been. Evidences for this textual evidences like Prabandha Chintamani and all. They give references to the kind of traditions between the Swetambara and Digambara sector. Debate traditions, we have evidences on these texts. And the Kumar Pal, who is strongly supported by the Jainism in that region. Uh, there is a two inscriptional evidences we getting as like over there the land grant given to the Jain temple, even the Jalore inscriptions of the Kumar Gupta who built the Parshanath temple at that region. The textual sources also give the information like Prabandha Chintamani or Prabhava Charita. These kind of textual sources also give a very important evidence in these dynastical time phase. And the important scholars like Hema Chandra and Engineer Sarvasuri and as like these kind of Jain scholars also they prominent. They getting a patronage by the Chalukyas and Solankis ruler. The major center is like Mayun Prabhu, Satrunjay and Anilwad. These are the most famous Jain center during this time phase. Now I come to the the Baghelas and Gulias. They also rule that region is like Gujarat and Mewar region. Mewar also as the southern part of the Mewar, southern eastern part of the Mewar also come to the under the Malwa region. There also during this phase also Jainism flourished under the Baghelas rulers in Gujarat and Gulias in the Mewar. At that time, the merchant, minister, and the regional ruler also they patronized the Jain temples, monks, and the various pilgrimage centers. Even the Jain scholars and the religious institutions also received a strong patronage during the and economical support during this time phase. Like the textual sources like Prabandh Chintamani and Prabhakar Charitra also give references to this Jain, and even the Jain Chronicle also give the reference like the various scholars like Vastu, Vastupal and Tejapal as like Jain tradition, literary tradition. These are the famous important as like patron at that time. Even the few major Jain sites like Girnar, Mount Abu and Satrunjay, Chittorgarh, Marwa region. These are the famous center at that during these rulers. The important inscription evidences we get from the Chittorgarh inscription, which recorded the construction of Jain temple patronage at the Jain mount. The major contribution of these dynasty, they just constructed of the many magnificent Jain temples. They promote Jainism through the pilgrimage traditions, and they construct the chaityas and other activity they're doing in their time phase. Now we come to the during the Sultanate phases, like after this the Islamic invasion, the Sultanate phase also we have evidences the association of Jain monks with the Muhammad bin Tughlaq, and even he translates a few the Jain sources in the Persian. And that kind of evidences we get during Sultanate period. Even in Malwa region, we have also a few evidences as like Jain community who's remained economically very powerful in during this phase. Even Jain merchant and bankers and administrators were associated with the Malwa court and regional administration. Jain temple and monasteries and pilgrimage traditions also conducted in the Malwa during this phase. We have important evidences as like important sites as like Mandu, Ujjain, Dhar, and Siron, and Chanderi. These are the important centers which flourish as a Jain tradition during this phase. We have important references as like Narendra Shuni, who is served as a treasurer under the Hushang Shah, who is the Malwa Sultan, and Punjaraj also get Khalsa land during he appointed as a wazir and these reason. Even the Lalitpur stone inscription give very important evidence of the Ambika, who is the wife of Hushang Shah, the Malwa Sultan, and their son Holi, who is also associated with this, affiliated with the Jain traditions. And as like for that, if you see the sources of the Lalitpur inscription and Persian chronicle text, which we get from the Malwa Sultanate, which give a very important evidence to the affiliation, and we can see that the Jain tradition, how they survive or emerge during this phase. The historical significance of this time phase, the Jain community plays a major important role like a trade, finance, urban economy, and during this Sultanate phase. And this period refers the religious coexistence with the other religions like Jainism, Hinduism, and Islamic tradition in Middle Central India. During Mughal time phase also we have evidences like Akbar also associated with the few Jain monks, and he take himself from that is like his religion, Deen Ilahi and all. In Malwa region, we have also few evidences as like Malwa remained important Jain center during that phase, trade, religious activity during this Mughal time phase. Even the Aine Akbari, written by the Abul Fazl, also recorded the Bakkals as known as Baniya. They have as like may the whom where they are Jain Jamidas in Malwa region, and they give a very important evidence in that tree at that time. Even the France, like French traveler Termier also give a very good description of the Siron, which is the major center of Banyan merchant and artistic peoples, whose reflect the strong Jainism like association and presence with this time. As like Jain community plays a very important role as like economically administration and urban trade network during the Mughal period also. These are the few textual tradition which give the information, and if you see the center of that at that time is like Udaipur, Rannaut, and the Chanderi Sarkar. These are the famous center is during the Mughal phase of the Jainism. Okay, now I come to the finding which I found during my survey when I surveyed as like during my field work in Malwa region, which is like conducted the theoretically conducted survey, village to village survey. I found out several Jain remains on that region. These are the few most important site which I indicated in this map. Okay. Now I come to the first site, it's like Kotra, which is modernly situated in Narsingarh Tahsil, Rajgarh district. Here, as like earlier I mentioned that there is a story of the Dhangadeva, Dhardeva, which is without head, the presentation of Rishabhdeva. Here you can see the huge colossal image without head, approx more than 30 to 40 feet image as like without head. And the behind the head you can see the part which is excavated that shows that this is the actual shrine where this image is placed. And the other two slab you can notice this is the part of temple door or wall because you can see the extension of these slab at the either side. Here you can notice the as like Jain Tirthankara sitting on the Padmasana and Dhyanamudra posture. And the bottom you can notice the Chakreshwari representation, and other slab you can notice the Ambika representation over here. And this is the shrine, the modern shrine, which these images are these slavish houses. As like you can see the huge rock shelters over there, and that and under that rock shelter that temple is constructed. This is another image which is like modern days, as like praying as a Hindu deities in the next to that at the bottom next to the temples, modern temples, where you can see that the image of Jain image which is standing at the Kayotsar mudra. Okay, this is also a very important evidence, which I'm not sure about that the affiliation with the Jainism, either Buddhism, because these footprint is situated on the top of the hill, which is at the bottom. There is a Jain shrine, which I showed the earlier side, and just around 20 to 25 meter there is a Buddhist stupa also. This is still I'm trying to decipher these inscription, then I will correlate with that. Otherwise, if these places belongs to the Jainism, that must be a Siddha Kshetra for the Jain monks. Okay, other images like these images are housing in the modern Kotra Museum. The standing image of the Jain Tirthankar Kayutsar Mudra, and other one is you can see the Padma Prabha. Here you can notice the Langshana is like Padma over here, and other one is the Bimalanath. Here you can notice the Langshana over present here. So these images they just borrowed from the Kotra, and modern days this houses is the Rajgarh Museum. This is another site, Jailpa in Peora Tahsil in Rajgarh district. Here, when visited at that site at the mound, when we get down on the foothills, we found several like sculptures or temple remains are scattered over there. So we noticed there is a few Jain images, and even this slide you can notice the few part of the Jain temples and all. Here, this sitting at the Padmasana posture, and there's here you can notice the elephant as like Ajitanath. Another one image is the Mahavira. You can notice the Langshana as like a lion is present over here. So that kind of a material also shows that this is must be a Jain center during this period, and they're just scattered along with the some like Brahmanical remains over here. Another site, Kalipit in Rajgarh district. Here, this site is also known for the Buddhist site. There is some textual references and inscriptional references we get from the Shachi. So this site, when we visited and doing a survey, we noticed there is a few Jain sculptures standing in the Kayotsar Mudra posture, and the temple ruins part also we get next to the modern temple. Another few sculptures which is houses in the modern primary school, where we find out these two images over there, and which is a Jain triliteral couple also the presence over here. This is also a very important site, which is mostly what I noticed. This is mostly famous for the Nath sect, because the several images belong to the Natha tradition. We can see the Yoga Pattas and all there. But in between the few images we notice are the Jain Tirthankar image. It's like Aranath image here. You can see the sitting on the Padmasana posture, the presence of like fish that shows that this images belong from to the Jain tradition. Another image is importantly houses under the Garbhagriha. The modern temple is like a Keradi Mata Mandir. The modern temples is like houses inside the Garbhagriha, and they are praying as a Brahmanical deity. Here you can see this sitting on the Dhyan Mudra posture. Now the other side is Jami, which is also situated in Beora Tahsil, Rajgarh district. Here as the modern temple, there's a housing, a few Jain images also housing over there, and we found several other remains, since we get a few microlithic, show that probably this site is associated since the microlithic phase to the modern temples construction over there. This is a very important center during Parmara period, especially we can say, I can say that. The Gandharapuri is situated in Surankacha Tahsil in Devas district, which is a very important center, as like you can see this the more than hundreds of Jain sculptures and actually sculptures are scattered over there, and as like open sky, that there is one compound, they just scattered over here. Uh, okay, sorry. Very interesting image. You can see this Ambika image sitting on the Chasna posture, and on the upper portion you can notice the Jain Panchika, and it's like holding, sitting on that lion, and the other hand she's holding a child. It's very interesting, and it's like there is a very similar image from the Devgad also, that dated around 8th to 9th century by the Paul's Room. This is also the same, let's say, compound. You can see the very huge and gigantic, like Tirthankar image, just throwing, just scattered over here. That inside the museum there is few important evidences we're getting, is like the Chakreshwari, few Yakshanis images. The Chakreshwari, you can see that as like Shah noticed that it's 1600 Chakreshwari. When I minutely observe more than 20 hand, you can see that associated with the different Ayudha Purushas, as like Ayudhas. And upper portion you can see this the Jain Panchikas also present over here. At the next to there is a Saraswati image. Here you can see this holding as like manuscript in this hand, and the other hand is like holding a few flowers and all that kind of a motive. And the next to that other plank, we find another image of the Gandhari, who is holding a Mushala. It's other actually from, probably a Gandhari, other actually from the Jaina traditions. These are the temple planks, probably because you can see the extension of these sculptures, or you can see that this panel. This is a very important panel I notice in Gandharpuri only, which is, you can see the narrative panel is very closely along with the Jain tradition, because I notice here the Jain Tirthankar sitting on the Padmasana and Dhyan Mudra posture. Uh, when we see the panel, it's like the female figurine, you can see they're laying as like a very laying on the reclined posture, adorning with the various, or it's like ornamentation we can notice, and even this is a story which belongs to the birth of Mahavira, as like the story, the tradition of Harinegamesi or Negamesi tradition, deities, which is very famous narratives. We have evidences from the Mathura and other places also. In the Swetambara traditions, it's like his Hiranyagameshi and Nagameshi is depicted, and he is depicted with the head of the goat, and symbolic as the fertility and the protections, especially in the concern with the child and all. This is the story, is like once the most important narrative of the Nagameshi is responsible to the transfer of the embryo of Mahavira. But the other tradition, this Digambar tradition, have a different, totally different story. The Digambar traditions have a, as like the story, as like mentioned, that the Devananda and Devananda is the mother of, actual mother of the Mahavir, and after that the embryo is transferred to the Trishula. So at that story, when the Gautami as like Devananda and Mahavira, as the chief of the head, they visited to see this child, and here you can notice the lady sitting on that next to the Trishula's feet. And then here you can notice the as like a kind of a Jain monks are sitting at the head side of this panel. So the overall the story is like very associated with the Digambar traditions of the birth scene of Mahavira, which is probably, I'm not sure, but it's very close to that traditions. Now I come to the other sculptures, like houses as Devas Museum. This sculptures is also important. Why? Because they're using a different kind of a material. Must be they just borrowed somewhere and all. Here also the date is mentioned, as like mentioned, is Sambat 1221, is like 1221, around 1164 or 65 AD around. So that kind of a material they borrowed or someone is donated, but we found the same compound. There is the similar kind of a material used by the Brahmanical temple construction. So these plank is belong from the Rajor, which is probably that these sculptures are also associated with that reason. Okay, this is a very important and interesting image of the Ambika. We can see that it's standing at Trivangi posture, holding a child in her lap, and you can see that the snake-hooded canopy is covering her head. And upper portion, you can also notice the few Jain Tirthankar also present over here. Okay, now here you can like you can notice the several Jain Yakshani also presents either side. Here you can notice the holding a manuscript, holding a lotus flower, and holding a mushal like a Gandhari, and he at the other side holding a flame and something. This the particular image is broke, so I cannot say that exactly. And here also they're holding some kind of a ornamentation, which just shows that the different is like a different Yakshani's representation surrounding this image. It's very interesting and magnificent image. Probably the feature of iconographic feature and the ornamentation, which shows that is very close to the Hinglas Garda, which that will be like later I will discuss about that. The Hinglas Garda, the image is associated from the Hinglas Garda. Okay, the Manson Museum, we find out other sculptures, which is houses and the Manson Museum, and there is a few very important site over there also, which is uh, uh, it's like Gatiala and other site also very important, famous in that region. Uh, in this museum, we find out several images which is belong to the both sects like Digambar and Shwetambar tradition. Here you can see this as like an image of the Digambar tradition because you can notice the cloth over here, and as like the as like canopy, this you can see that over here. Then probably it's Parashnath. This is also part of the temple. Okay, these images shows that a proper affiliation with the Shwetambar tradition. Here you can see that's well decorative, like image with this wearing a dhotis with the decorations over here. You can see that. Even as like I noticed this is also a part of the temple, which we can notice the extension over here. The other images sitting on the Padmasana and Dhyana Mudra posture, that is, this image also belongs to the Shwetambar tradition because you can notice the eyes are open over here. The next image is also the similar pattern followed over here, and this is also the part of the temple as Shwetambar tradition Jain image. That is a very important narrative panels which I find out that displays in this museum, which is probably I just try to trace the affiliation with these the text and other things. So as like the text, the story of Megha Kumar, which I found quite similar to this narrative. The story is the Megha Kumar has been found the Jain, several Jain chronicle texts like Jain text. Like Uttaradhyayana Sutra and other textual tradition. Once a very important sacred text of the Shwetambar tradition. The story is the king of Magad. He is the king of Magad, and his queen Dharni. Uh, she dreamed a white elephant who entered her body. So dreaming that kind of a tradition is very uncommon. So the king called the dream expert, and that expert said that she will give a birth to the very intelligent and great sons. During her pregnancy, the queen Dharni, his wishes to ride to the elephant with the king during the rainfall, and she want to see the cloud as like multiple color cloud. So the king he called his son, and his son are his friend. The both are as like they are the magician. Here you can see they're holding a pash and all in his hand. Other as like some kind of a flame is in his hand. So as like he as like a prince Abhay Kumar, he just arranged everything to fulfill. He tried to fulfill the queen's wish. The queen and king, those both are the riding on the elephant, and as like he gave as like Later, the queen gave a birth to the handsome guy who's known as Megha Kumar, because the whole story regarding to the as like cloud and all. So he get a name as a Megha Kumar, and as like he give a luxurious life and he get married and all. One day, the Lord Mahavira, who came to the Guntasila monastery in Rajagiri. So for the giving a sermon, and as like Megha Kumar also when visit at that place. Here you can see that Guntasala kind of a chaitya, which I try to the affiliate with that. Here he is sitting and giving a sermon, and later he just converted on to the Jainism. The whole story is like that. This is a very close to that. This panel is very close to that story. What I found. So other site is Hinglasgard. There is a museum. It's like you can see the huge image in Glasgow that is associated with the Hinglasgard. The huge image is like around 4 meter image as like huge colossal Jain tradition, which is kept at the openly nowadays, losing the authentications and other things of this image. The modern the Bhanpura Bundelki Kshatri Museum is the all or like sculptures or archaeological remains as housing over there, where we found out the plenty of as like number of uh, Jain Tirthankars images. Like here, few of these here I just mentioned over here. You can see the sitting on the Padmasana posture, Dhyana Mudra, these two images, and you can notice that relatory couple also sitting at that chasna posture, and she's holding as a child on her lap. Other images also as like Ambika image as well, as like very different manner. She's holding Amralumbi, that you can notice the the tree of the mango tree over at the either side is flourishing, sitting on this shame posture on the asana. As like here you can notice the lion also. Um, when we like looking the sculptures from the Hinglasgard, especially the proportion, the size proportion, or the material and the iconographic style is very different from the other side, which we found out the other reasons. Here also, I noticed a few very interesting panels which I try to compare with the Neminath Marishin for the Dilwara temple. I find these two panels in houses in this modern Bhanupura Bundelki Chhatri temple. Here you can, here I just noticed the story is like Neminath Marish. We found out the several texts as like Harivans Puran by the Acharya Jinishen. In Digambar text, even the Trisa Satabdi Salaka Purusha by the Acharya Hemachandra, as like Satambar tradition, we found that kind of a story or narration regarding to the Neminath Marishin. The Prince Neminath was a very kind and compassionate prince of the Dwarika. In his marriage, he was just the marriage was arranged the princess with the princess Razula. At that the grand wedding, he just the grand wedding is organized, and on the way he just shows that several animals they just crying. They just tried and caged and they just crying, and he asked what the purpose is these the animals are over there, they caged over there. So the people says that these animals will be slaughtered for the feasting. These the whole the people come to for this attending the marriage and all. At from these event, seeing this event, he just get a transfer. He just get he just changed his way to it, and Neminath felt very sad. And how can this happiness become without reason? These innocent animal are suffering. Uh, at that moment, he just decide that he could not marry. He could not enjoy the pleasureful life and violence. He's just leaving the behind the kingdom and wealth and the marriage also, and just, he just went to the Mount Girnar for this salvation and all, for this kind of getting to nirvana and all. So he attending the Kevala Jnana over there, and after that he become a very famous 22nd Tirthankara in Jain traditions. So here you can see that you notice the few sculptures where they are playing with the drums and all, they're dancing and all. This is very quite similar here, quite similar on this playing at that narrative panel which I found out there. And other here you can notice the depiction of boar. They are just crying. Their mouth is open. They're just crying and cast over there. That is a very similar. You can find out the depiction in Jain Dilwara temple, which is probably this panel are associated with this the Neminath seen in Dilwara temple. Okay, now I come to the iconographic tradition which I find out in that region. I just come to the discuss on that. Uh, the most of these Tirthankara depiction are the seated on the Padmasana posture and standing in the Kayaswar posture and meditative posture. These are the very common as we find out the both sectors like Sritambar and Digambar both sectors. The Yaksha Akshini figure, that is very important and interesting. The presence, representation of the Yakshis, the deities, the like Ambika, Padmavati, and Chakreshwari is very, it's like very important in this region. That we're getting a number of evidences there, their representation on the temples, on the temple walls, and associated with the different Tirthankar. The narrative panels also very important as like we discussed about more than 3 narrative panels which is affiliated with the other different Tirthankar. The sculptures panel are very illustrative seen from the Jain legends, and they leave us like, and they says that the the story about the Tirthankara and all. The stylistic influence is like we can see the very strong influence of the Pratihara Parmara and the western region, especially the Mansur and Hinglasgarh. We can trace the the influence of Solanki's artistic traditions over there also, because you can see that they just start ornamented with this more and more heavy jewelries and all that kind of a depiction we start getting, and that reason only the ornamentation we just getting a very unique carving techniques over there. Now we discussed the major sectors like Digambara textiles like very dominating in the central India, the Malwa region, considered as earliest the prominent sect in this region, divided in the it's like Jair Tirthankara in 2 categories like Siddha Kshetra and Atishay Kshetra. There is a few evidences from the Siddha Kshetra. It's like I discuss that is probably a Tisha and Skotra region where they get nirvana and all at the upper side of the hill. And like we get most of the evidence of this Atisha Kshetra as like secret places are famous for the power, temple, and other things as deities and all. And Sotambra traditions, like especially dominant of the Gujarat and Western India, which is also the western and southern part of Malwa also dominated with the Sotambra tradition, which is flourished under the patronage of Solanki ruler. Later is associated with the several other important like Gachas. You can see the monastic traditions also developed over there. As like Kartar Gaksha is like started by the Jina Sharman Suri, and as like Nagendra Gaksha and Rag Gaksha. So the several is like Silbugwa Suri and Anna Suri. These are the few different like monks, as you can say that different saint. They started a different kind of a monastic traditions which is developed, and that reason. Uh, uh, the important if we see that the kind of importance practices is going on this reason, there's like temple worship, Chaitagriha worship. We get several depictions of the Chaityas also, which I shows that one narrative panels of the scene of Mega Kumar. That kind of a depictions also get in panel also, and we found out that several temples, ruins, and modern living temple also in that region. The Jain festival and rituals, even we have a few inscriptional evidences like Kalvan is copper plate inscriptions and other inscriptions which give the evidences of that kind of a Jain festival or rituals are practicing on that region. The pilgrimage traditions, we can see the Tirtha Kshetra is also very famous in that regions. The several the pilgrimage center is very famous in during this time frame. The presence of tantric element in medieval Indian Jainism is very important. I will discuss that also. Now, I conclude my the whole topic. The Malwa offer a very deeper insight into the Jain religion, life, and artistic expression. You can see the throughout these kind of a material culture which we found as like is scattered all over the Malwa region, and the very importantly we can see that religious coexistence is the evidence site like a Kotra where we find out the Buddhism, Brahmanism, and Jainism, and the later Islam also. There is one mosque constructed in 18th century. So the coexistence of with the other religions like Potra, Jalpa, Hinglaskar, Keradi, where we find out these all three as religious tradition or practices, they coexistent with the together. Even like Jain images, these are the very common phenomena of the modern day. The Jain images where sometimes they worship at the Brahmanical deity shows the syncretism practices in that region. For example, the Potra and Jalpi and Kerala. So the early medieval period, the is like domination is this material recorded the marked evolution of the religious iconography, which has shown that the regional variations also you can see that the eastern part of Malwa have a different kind of a practices or variation, and the western part of Malwa is like especially the Hinglasgard have a different kind of a iconographic tradition or practices over there. The influence of tantric tradition is very visible, especially the depiction of powerful Jain goddesses and yakshas and yaksharids with the depiction of the multiple hands associated with the various ayudhas, or you can say that various the, that kind of a depiction we're getting over there. And we found the tantric element in the Jainism during period in the form of in from the as like mantravad also we getting with a few evidences over there. To the strong reference we found out that comment there is a literary sources which give important evidence as the much like social as religious custom of the Jainism resemble those the Brahmanical sect also. We have as like Tilak Manjari also the example as like Mala Devi who's described at the worshipping Jain Pratima while the performing at the Gayatri Japa. So with these, it's like I can see that you can see that Jainism is flourish and the kind of a tradition. Time to time, the changes and their continuity. That still there is a few temple it's they're practicing modern days. Okay, through this presentation, I just want to drag my attention as like previous lecture, my friend Prashant also as like talk about these kind of issues in their region. Malwa is like process a very rich, it's like, but nowadays they're just neglecting, the largely neglecting Jain heritage, which is very important temple sculptures and inscriptions. As I showed that Gandharpuri, they just scattered the open air. And the many of Jain heritage are engaging due to the urbanization, as like for example, the Gandharpuri, the modern days when they start digging for the modern construction, they just find out that several Jain remains, which is they just scattered over that site or village region. So naturally, they just start decaying and the lacking the public awareness. Uh, for this, we need a proper documentation, conservation, and awareness program which has the help to the conserve and preserve these with the help with these local people that preserve that cultural legacy for the future generation. The study of the Jain heritage in Malwa helps to the better understanding to realize the cultural history of the Central India. For that, I just these are the references I use for this presentation, and these are the people whom I just want to acknowledge. I'm very thankful to the Jain Chair and Deccan College, and I'm as like thankful to the my supervisor, Professor Parul Pandya, and as I very deeply thankful to Dr. Shrikant Ganveer and Gopal sir, their valuable insights and suggestions. I'm thankful for the Prashant who's helping for the fieldwork, and acknowledge the A.I.H.C and the A.I.H.C Circle Bhopal and the local people for Malwa. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Rahul Maurya, for this wonderful presentation, which talked not just about the art and architecture and archaeology, of the region of Malwa with special reference to Jainism, but it also talked about how it got disseminated and how various issues still need certain attention from the community and from the government level, and so on and so forth. Uh, there are several scholars in actually this particular audience that we have here. I would like to request our patrons, Dr. Jaswant Modi sir, if he has anything to say, he can unmute his mic, and I would humbly request him to give his remarks also.
Hello, sir. Please unmute yourself.
Jai Jinendra. This has been an excellent presentation of archaeology and Jain heritage. I learned a lot, and last year I did attend a certificate course for 40 hours about the Jain archaeologies, and I have developed a deep interest and a little bit of a knowledge to see how the Jainism has evolved, and I appreciate uh, the Deccan College and the Ocean Sub of arranging these lectures at a little bit of a convenient time, evening time there, morning time here, so the Western audience can join. And we'd like you to continue, give us a little bit of an advance notice of a schedule. And this is excellent. I appreciate very, very much accommodating our need, but the knowledge that I get it is invaluable. I would not be able to get it at some single place, and I just put a request to see whether the PPT presentation that you do would be somewhat widely available. And if it is a copyrighted, that's fine. But this is excellent. Thank you very, very much. I appreciate. Jai Jinendra.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you. As always, all of our lectures are usually uploaded on the official YouTube channel of Deccan College after taking consent from the respected speaker. Now, I request Dr. Professor Parul Patyadhar, ma'am, if she is there in the meeting, to give any remarks if she has, because Rahul Maurya is doing Ph.D. under the guidance of Professor Parul Patyadhar, ma'am.
Well, thank you very much, Oshin. Am I audible?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am, you are.
Yes. I'm sorry, but I'm away at another place and I can't put my video on. But I was, I'm very grateful to Dr. Shrikant Ganbir and Oshin Bam and everybody else involved with the organization of these lecture series. I'm very proud of my student, research scholar actually, not student, Rahul Maurya, who, to my mind, has just made an excellent presentation. What I think is really remarkable, even if I say so for my own research scholar, is that he has included, through the sheer dint of his archaeological pursuit, a fair amount of new material and synthesized it with the larger narrative of Jainism and Jain art in the region of Malwa. Uh, that's about all from my side. And I wish the whole program a lot of success.
Thank you very much, ma'am, for your kind words. And very rightfully, Rahul deserves all of the appreciation. Dr. Sulekchan Jain, sir, one of our patrons from the International School for Jain Studies, has also joined today's session. I kindly request you, sir, to kindly express your remarks. Uh, Dr. Sulekchan Jain, sir, can you please unmute yourself? Okay, it appears that he is not available at the moment. There is a question in the chat box by Akshay Jain ji, but it is not directly related to the topic that was delivered today. So I would request Rahul Maurya to just type his email ID in the chat box so that Akshay Jain and the others who have any further inquiries on the topic that was dealt with today, they can approach you directly. Rahul Bhaiya, can you please do that?
Okay, okay. I will.
Another question by Ishwar Prajapati. Okay, we have Dr. Sulekhan Jain sir with us. Sir, I kindly invite you to speak. We can see you.
Can you hear me?
Yes, sir, yes.
Well, I want to thank you, all of you, for arranging such beautiful lectures. I've been attending some of them, not all of them. And today's lecture is absolutely informative, educational. And as Dr. Modi mentioned, it's very good timing. It was 7:30 a.m. here, so we could attend. Please keep that tradition. And also, I would like to suggest, just like Ocean, you went to London, so us, earlier part of this year. We would like to encourage more and more of your scholars. If their papers are accepted in foreign countries, we would like to help them for their travel. So it will be a great thing to take this knowledge that you have and share with the Western world.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. One question by Ishwar Prajapati is in the chat box. There are so many sites where you have Jain, Buddhist, and Hindu gods and goddess placed at a similar place. What could be the probability for it?
Okay. Yes, it's like during my survey, I just noticed several sites, which is, as I mentioned in conclusion, the coexistence of these kind of religious traditions. Uh, these are the centers, we can say that these are the, as a trading centers or other kind of centers where we can see that. And the later, the few images also which converted the different, it's like they are associated with the different religious traditions also, as I give examples. So uh, probably we can see this kind of a tradition as a time to time at the same center that been continuously used. There is a continuation of religious tradition, which is the decline of the other religion. This is like emerge a symbol, a new religious traditions. Even as like during my research work and when I surveyed, even I read the several texts and textual traditions, where you can see there's some kind of accumulation of the other religious traditions also. It's like the inscription number 4 from the Khajuraho inscription that mentioned give a few informations as the Shaivite tradition is associated with the Buddhism, and the several few other references which have been shows that the accumulation of the religious traditions and the things. So that kind of a tradition is followed since it's like early historical time phase to the 18th 19th century, which I find out through these kind of a text cultural materials also, even the textual material sources also.
Okay, thank you. One question by Gopal Zoge sir is that Rahul, thanks for such an informative and insightful presentation. I have a small query. Have you tried to compare the narrative stele of Neminath marriage scene with the similar kind of narrative stele of Krishna Leela of the same period in Western India?
uh, Sir, I didn't aware with this kind of a narrative of a Krishna Leela and all. I will look it in the future. Definitely, I will look at it. This kind of a panel.
Yes. Thank you very much for answering all the questions in an efficient way. I now invite Dr. Shrikant Gadvir sir, who is the coordinator of Bhagwan Sheetalnath Chair for Jain Archaeology, to share his remarks. And later we will have a formal vote of thanks by Dhananjay Kandari.
Thank you, sir.
So congratulations, Rahul, for today's insightful lecture, and lot of new information has been given by you. So some of the sculptures and the narrative panels were actually completely new for me. Thank you for your extensive fieldwork, and the area which you have selected for your research is a very rich, but unfortunately not uh, known to us, many of us, or to the academic world. I'm also thankful to Dr. Jaswant Modi sir, Dr. Sulek Chandra Jain sir, and Professor Parul Pandadhar madam for giving their precious time. So, Rahul, your article has also been published in our proceedings of First National um, uh, Conference on Jain Art and Architecture. I hope that, like your earlier publication, this information will also get published soon. Thank you very much. Thank you, Oshin.
Thank you so much, sir. Thanks a lot. These words means a lot, sir. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir. I now request Dhananjay Kandare to kindly propose a formal vote of thanks.
Thank you, Oshin. Good evening, everyone. On behalf of Department of Ancient Indian History, Culture and Archaeology, Deccan College Postgraduate and Research Institute, under the aegis of Bhagwan Sheetalnath Chair for Jain Archaeology, I extend our heartfelt gratitude to our esteemed speaker, Mr. Rahul Maurya, for delivering such an insightful and engaging lecture on uncovering Jain heritage, recent archaeological findings from Malwa, Central India. His scholarly archaeological findings from Malwa, Central India, he has presented greatly enhanced our his presentation has greatly enhanced our understanding of Jain heritage and the historical significance of the Malwa region. We express our sincere gratitude to Dr. Jaswant Modi sir, President of the Vardhaman Charitable Foundation and patron of Bhagwan Sheetalnath Chair for Jain Archaeology, for his constant encouragement and support. We are equally thankful to Dr. Sulek Chandra sir, founder member of the International School for Jain Studies, patron organization of the chair, and former president of Jaina, for his continued guidance and inspiration. I would also like to express our sincere thanks to Professor Parul Pandya Madam, Anahita Hus, Nick Bernard, Natalia Pavlik, Sinharaja Gopal Jogesar, Dr. Ashish Shahu for gracing this lecture with their valuable presence. I also extend thanks to all faculty members, research scholars, students, and participants from India and abroad for joining us today and making this session meaningful and interactive. Once again, thank you all for your presence and support. Have a wonderful evening and a good day ahead.
Thank you, Dhananjay.